So oftentimes you're going to want to have an object that has properties as well as methods. So you want it to be able to have an action as well as being able to have properties that describe it. So in this case, we have line 16. We give our cat a name. We have an object that's been created called cat on line 15. And it has a name and it has a speak property. So the name is Spice and the speak is meow. So you could do an alert on any one of those and you'd see that you would get that value. So alert cat.name, and let me hit return there. We'll save that up and we'll go ahead and show this in Firefox. And you can see that there's the name Spice. Okay, but what if we want it to actually have an action? So speak might be appropriate as a property, but since speaking is an action, let's go ahead and change that to a method. In order to add methods, or I'll go ahead and just call this a function, to this object literal, we'll have speak, and then think of the colon there as an equals. The value of speak will be a function, and we just go ahead and write that out. So the function, opening and closing, and then opening and closing bracket right there. And so now whatever I write within that function will be instantiated every time that I call the speak. So here, I'll go ahead and add an alert in here. And I'll just say meow. And let me close that out. Okay, so this is, if you look at it on its own, just right here, then there's nothing terribly complex about that function. You're just creating a function. When it's called, it will have an alert. We call the function by calling the name speak. Okay, so let me come down here, and I'll go ahead and reference that. It's going to be cat dot speak. And if you can see this down here, let me actually pull this up a little bit and make sure you can see this. If I type cat dot and then I get the code hinting, it recognizes the property of name. It recognizes the prototype, which is inherent to all objects. And then it also recognizes speak. And you see that it's a little bit different icon there because speak is a method. So I add speak and then opening and closing parenthesis there because that's the way it is with most methods. And I'll save this up. Now, when I run this in Firefox, then I actually get the alert that says meow. So it just simply runs that function whenever I instantiate cat.speak. Well, let's say we want to add some data to this. Okay, so that's going to be easy enough. I can go ahead and add a variable in here because there's going to be an argument. So I want to be able to accept the information of that argument into the voice variable that I've just added here. So now I want to alert and let's actually do a document.write in this case. Document.write. And, well, actually, I'm sorry, alert will be the easiest in this case. So let's do an alert, and we'll do an alert of voice. So whatever we pass in there as into that variable, it will display. So when I want to call this now, I can go ahead and say cat.speak, and I'll say bark. All right, because maybe this cat doesn't meow. Maybe it's going to bark. So you see how when I call the method right here that I'm highlighting, I pass the data in. It accepts the word bark and passes it into this variable, which you could call anything you want. I'll go ahead and call it voice. And then I just continue to reference that throughout the life of this function right here. So you just got to keep track of your curly braces when you're typing these things up, or else it gets a little bit confusing. So let me go ahead and test this out and run this in Firefox. And now it's going to show the word bark in here because that's what I passed into it. So you see that can be much more powerful, and you can have as many methods and as many properties as you want. So I could easily add another property in here, and I might say white, maybe it's a white cat, and then separate that by a comma. And then you could add multiple functions in here. So you could have move, run, climb a tree, whatever you want. So very, very powerful to be able to create these objects, and then we can instantiate them and use them throughout our program.